guys, and welcome to your Rust update on the 6th of December 2018. This month we have a massive update. We are finally getting electricity. Currently there are two ways to obtain electricity, and that is by wind and sun. Starting off with wind, those of you that have been playing around long enough may have likely seen a wind turbine in the past. It now has a use. It costs 1,500 wood, 30 high quality metal, 3 gears and 10 sheet metal to craft. You'll also need a level 2 workbench. The research cost is 750 scrap. This will create power day and night, depending on the amount of wind. It can be placed on terrain or on top of a building. Next, we have the large solar panel. This will only generate power whilst the sun is shining upon the panel. It will not store any power, so if it's directly powering something, once night time arrives, power disappears. It costs 25 high quality metal to craft and requires a level 1 workbench. The research cost on this is 750 scrap. This can be placed on terrain or on a building. Moving on to power storage, there are two options. Firstly, the small rechargeable battery. This can be charged from either a solar panel or a wind turbine. It will hold a small amount of power, which can be used whenever you wish. It costs 10 high quality metal to craft, and it requires a level 1 workbench. Researching this is pretty cheap at only 20 scrap. These can be placed pretty much wherever. Next, we have the large rechargeable battery. This is exactly the same as its little brother, except bigger. It costs 80 high quality metal to craft, requires a level 2 workbench, and it will cost 75 scrap to research. Now you may be asking, well great, I can obtain power, but what can I use it for? Currently we only have a couple of uses, though unless you plan to build a calculator, a clock, or attempting to build some kind of processor, it will only be lights indoors. The ceiling light is no longer powered by low-grade fuel. It will now be powered by electricity. This means the fuel requirements to craft it are now gone. It now only costs 50 metal fragments. Once one light is powered in, you can then use a pass-through on the initial light to add further lights onto the same circuit. Next, we have the door controller. This is a pretty simple piece of kit. You place it next to a door, then you get the option to pair it to the door. Doing so will link the controller to the door. Then once power reaches the door controller, the door will open. Crafting one of these will cost you 5 high quality metal, and it requires a level 1 workbench. The research cost is 75 scrap. So now that we've established how to get power and what we will be powering, now I imagine the next question is, how do I control the power? There are multiple options for this, and we will start off simple. Firstly, we have a switch, and it does exactly what you'd expect it to. It turns on and it turns off. To craft one of these, you'll need 5 high quality metal, a level 1 workbench is required, and to research it, it will cost 20 scrap. Next we have something that is just as simple as the switch. It's the pressure pad. It functions exactly the same as the switch, however you have to stand on it to turn it on, and then stand on it again to turn it off. It costs 150 wood, 1 metal spring, and 1 gear to craft. This will require a level 1 workbench, and it can be researched for 20 scrap. Next up we have the timer. It's a pretty simple timed switch. You press it to allow power to pass through. After an amount of time which you choose, it will then shut back off. This will cost you 5 high quality metal and 1 gear. You'll need a level 1 workbench to craft this, and you can research it for 20 scrap. Last of the simple switches is the laser detector. When the beam is broken, power will be allowed to pass through. If you step back out of the beam, power will be blocked. The cost of crafting one of these is 15 high quality metal. It requires a level 1 workbench, and the cost to research this is 75 scrap. Everything thus far should have been pretty simple, though I did mention about making a clock or some kind of processor. If you have a degree in electrical engineering, you'll likely do great things with these next items. If you don't, you'll probably watch a couple of guides, bang your head against the wall, and hope that something just works. We are moving on to logic switches. Switches that depend on more than just power in and power out. Firstly, we have the OR switch. This allows you to put in two sources of power. So long as one of those is working, there will be an output. If both inputs are giving power, the output will be the largest input. The cost of crafting this is 5 high quality metal, and it requires a level 1 workbench, and the cost to research it is 20 scrap. Next we have the AND switch. This is similar to the OR switch, however both inputs need to be giving power for electricity to pass through. The crafting cost for this is 5 high quality metal, a level 2 workbench is needed, and to research this is 20 scrap. We have another similar switch to the previous two, the XOR switch. This time, however, only one input can be giving power. If both inputs are powered, the output of the switch will be 0. The crafting cost is 5 high quality metal, and it requires a level 1 workbench, and researching this will cost 20 scrap. Next we have the blocker. Now this smart piece of kit will block a power input if another input is currently in use. Essentially what this means is that you could set a solar panel as the blocker, which means that when the sun is out, power will not make it to the output. This would be the ideal way to set up lighting that only comes on at night. It costs 5 high quality metal and 1 gear to craft. It requires a level 1 workbench, and it can be researched for 20 scrap. Following this we have the memory cell. It is a 1-bit storage component. If you set the input, it will set the value of the memory cell to 1. If you clear it, it will set the value to 0. If the value is 1, the output will receive power. If the value is 0, the inverted output will receive power. In its most simple use, it can be used as a switch between two different circuits. It will cost you 5 high quality metal to craft, and it requires a level 1 workbench. If you wish to research this, it will cost you 75 scrap. And then lastly we have the counter. This is the item that is being used by a lot of people to create all sorts of wonderful things, including clocks. It can be set to show the amount of power passing through, or it can be set to count up or down to a desired number. Once the desired number is hit, it will allow electricity to pass through. This will cost 10 high quality metal to craft, requires a level 2 workbench, and it costs 75 scrap to research. With mostly all of electricity explained, now we'll show you a couple of quality of life components to the system. Firstly we have the splitter. The splitter will allow you to put in one power source and then split it into 2 or 3. The power sources leaving the splitter will be equally divided from the original input. It costs 10 high quality metal to craft, requires a level 1 workbench, and costs 20 scrap to research. Next we have the electrical branch. This is similar to the splitter, however it can only split down to 2 outputs. You may select the power of one of the outputs, and the other output will simply get whatever power is left over. This will cost you 3 high quality metal to craft, and it requires a level 1 workbench. To research this, it will cost you 20 scrap. Lastly, we have the root combiner. This is the opposite of the previous 2 items. This will take 2 lower powered energy outputs and combine them together to get 1 higher output. This will cost you 5 high quality metal to craft, and it requires a level 1 workbench. If you wish to research this, it will cost you 75 scrap. And then we are pretty much wrapping up here with electricity. However, there's highly likely that you still have one giant question. How do I connect all this stuff together? Well, firstly, you'll need to get yourself a wire tool. It costs 5 high quality metal, and it is a default blueprint. However, you will require a level 1 workbench. With the wire tool selected on your hotbar, when you look at an electrical component, you will now see connection points. If you left click on one of those, you will now be able to place a wire. If you left click, it will place the wire in its place. You'll need to do this when you're trying to move a wire any reasonable distance, as the wire won't quite stretch forever. All you need to do is hook the power supplies to switches, lights or door controllers, and then you'll be automating your base in no time. This month also brings us some other great things, including a brand new gun. The military grade semi-automatic rifle is now here, the M39. Currently this gun cannot be purchased from the bandit town, and it can only be obtained as a drop. It will fire faster than the semi-automatic rifle, it deals more damage, and it has a better range. It fires 5.56 ammo and holds 20 rounds in its clip, and you can also put 3 attachments on it. Underwear is finally in the game. Whether you have issues with uploading clips to YouTube, streaming on Twitch, or you get extremely uncomfortable when your parents or significant other see a bunch of naked people in your game, you can now put an end to this. If you go to your options, you can now toggle between uncensored, pixelated or underwear. This month artificial intelligence has also got some tweaks. There should be improvements to the scientists in the military tunnels and at junk piles. However, all the commits that I'm seeing are just saying improvements, so I can't really break that down anymore for you. Recently, many players have been finding it difficult to get aboard the cargo ship when they don't have themselves a boat or if they fall off. As of the update this week, you will be able to place ladders onto the cargo ship, which means boarding it will be a lot easier and you can do it in any area you like. Sadly this month the oil rig hasn't made it into the game. Hopefully though we may get a sneak peek of it in the dev blog later. Facepunch is soon to release a new game called Clatter. To reward players who purchase this, a custom helmet has been added to Rust. It has the same protection as a bucket helmet, it just looks a whole bunch cooler. And Rust will turn 5 years old on the 11th of December. To celebrate this, there has been a cake item added to the game. It appears to be a melee weapon similar to the rock, however how it's going to be obtained is currently unknown. That is everything that I have for you guys this week, and it has been a very big video this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you have, make sure you hit that like button. And if you would like to see more content, make sure that you are subscribed. Thank you very much guys, have a good day.